We had a nice early start this morning and found the only chandlery I've seen in France since Paris. And I bought a couple more fenders because just because fenders, you can't have enough, so I bought a couple. But they're, I don't know, we've done about 10 kilometers so far, only one lock. It's a very pleasant morning. The birds are chirping. I think we'll do about 35 kilometers today, and that'll be it. Whilst we're buying groceries and stuff to eat for lunch, I found some ice cream. So that's what my lunch is. This is our almost 90-degree turn, and now we're heading 80 kilometers. We're kind of heading north-northeast, and then we go around the top and then down the other side. Happy cows. You know how everyone worth their salt has seen Team America, right?
America, fuck yeah! What you gonna do when we come for you now? It's the dream that we all share. It's the hope for tomorrow. Fuck yeah!
What did you just say?
I don't even know what it is.
She just said, I don't know what it is. The question is, do I throw her overboard on this side or this side? Please vote underneath. Thank you. You need this? Bonjour. My name is Steve.
Felipe.
Felipe, nice to meet you, Felipe.
Enchanté.
Tamara, American.
American. Okay.
English.
English. Yeah.
Sorry. Vive la France. See? Power. Right there. So good. You just show up. I think technically you've got 3 days, but maybe it's a week, and I don't know how often they check anyway, but 3 days, beautiful place. Well, that might not be beautiful, but that's beautiful. And that's beautiful. And I'm beautiful. We successfully made it to our next destination, which is here. It's very nice. And this was a planned stop. We stopped last night. That wasn't really planned because it just wasn't. But we got lazy and we just stopped there anyway. And then we stopped at a nice place to have lunch and buy some more produce, which was really good. And I mean, when I say really good, what I mean is they had vodka. Ever since Chatham, I think, I've been meaning to put the little dots, but have not managed it so far. And a big, huge, massive thanks to the people who have started to back me on Patreon. That really, really helps. And it kind of just makes me feel like it's worth doing these silly things. You don't have to back me on Patreon. I still love you even if you don't. But maybe a little less. And if you can like, share, comment, support, anything would be great. Thank you. The catering standards have gone up on Jaywalking the World. Mostly thanks to my friend there. However, I had to introduce her to the world of salt and pepper and spicy shit. Because she's one of those like, no, try it first. And I'm like, fuck no. Good morning. I thought it was going to be bright and sunny this morning. And I looked out and it's not. It's misty. You wake up in these places and you're like, that moment that you wake up and you're like, where am I? Not the most beautiful museum I have ever seen, but it's probably very nice inside. This place is a bit funny because it's like they couldn't afford a clock tower, so they just put the clock on the corner up there. It works. Time to go back to the boat and get some breakfast. Damn it, I just found this, and then I was remembering back. I'm like, where was the spike thing? Oh, it's there. I forgot we put that in last night, so I'm not the idiot I just thought I was. I might still be the idiot I just thought I was, but not for the spike reason. The starboard engine is running a little bit warm, so I need to check that the impeller is pushing enough water around, but they're not easy to get out. There we go. And again, I am not a diesel mechanic, so I don't really know what I'm doing. But I have a friendly person called Simon on Facebook Messenger who's been very helpful, because I thought that last one was okay, and he's like, no mate, it's knackered. So thanks. I mean, I'm not really going to be able to tell if it's working or not until we get underway again, which isn't until tomorrow, but I can at least run the engine and see if it overheats. If I look under, you can see it down there. The flow on the port engine cooling system is much more than on the starboard side, which isn't a good sign. I went downstairs and I took out both weed traps, and then when the lids were still off, I opened the seacocks because that lets water in, and the water came in on the port side but did not come in on the starboard side, and the weed trap on the port side was full, and the weed trap on the starboard side was empty. So because the water just wasn't coming in, it means there's a blockage somewhere between the outside of the boat and the first weed trap. See, here's the problem. This, when I do this, it should have water coming out of there, but it doesn't. So it means there's a blockage. There's a whole bunch of stuff coming out. And the show is done! Amazing! Yeah. Fuck yeah! Water into the boat, fully flowing, perfect. I'm a little proud of today's accomplishments. I had a big issue with an overheating engine, and you know, it's like you look into the engine room and you're like, why are you hot? Because you can't really just figure it out by looking at it. So you start troubleshooting and working out that there's a blockage in the cooling system, and you just dig and dig and dig, and people give you advice, and most of it's good, some of it isn't, but you keep pursuing the problem. And I found the problem, a small blockage in one pipe was causing all the problems. So I managed to fashion a tool out of a universal clip and poke it around and get the blockage out, and then I started the engines and there was still no water flowing, and I'm like, fuck it, what's the problem? And then I just realized that there was an airlock in the system, so I revved the engine hard for about 10 seconds, water started flowing, and the problem was solved, and all is right with the world. After a nice evening's stay here in Blanzy, I'm not sure. Nice little mooring, and again, power right there, which is wonderful. We won't be doing very many kilometers today, because there is a lot of locks, and each lock, it's best to allow about 20 minutes for. Sometimes you can get in and out in 8, but sometimes not. So I usually allow like 20 minutes, but we have a lot of them to do today. And I don't know, when I first started doing this, I'm like, oh, locks. But actually I kind of look forward to the locks now, because you get to meet the French lock keepers, maybe other boats, you get to chat a little bit, and it's kind of more interesting than just chugging along the canal sometimes, but that's also fun. Anyway, the big problem got solved yesterday, so we will not be leaving any more little vapor trails behind us. The engine will not be overheating, and everything is going to go perfectly. This morning did not go as planned. We set off, everything was cool, but we noticed the engine was still running hot. I couldn't figure out why, so I went to turn around and come back, and as I was turning around, a rope got snagged in the propeller. My fault. I zipped through the checklist. I fucked up and I did not check the lines. I thought they were fine, and they weren't. So the rope got snagged, and it was not easy to get free. It was not pleasant at all. I have to go back under the water now, under the boat, and finish off the stupid job that I started a while ago. But I got too tired, so I gave up and had to come get out. It got too cold as well. It's cold, the water's cold. And there's only about, like, I don't know, 2 foot of visibility under there. So I got a mask, and I fashioned a breathing tube, because, you know, after like 45 seconds, you can't, I used to be able to hold my breath for ages, but it's a little difficult under the water when you're working. It's not quite the same as just holding your breath. The past 2 years on the boat has actually gone very smoothly, but yesterday, problems compounded problems. Because there was a blockage in the pipe, which I found and got rid of, that had caused the engine to run warmer than it should. That caused because the system's kind of complicated. There's the water that comes in from the outside of the boat, goes through a strainer, and then goes through a heat exchanger, and then back out through the exhaust. Then there's an internal system, which is the water that goes around the engine through the heat exchanger and then back out again. Same as a car. So you've got one system that's closed, and in a car, internal combustion engine car, you've got a radiator that's cooling off with cold air from the outside. So the blockage caused the engine to run hot. The hot engine running caused one of the hose clips to get pushed off, and that caused the hose on the internal system to leak. So it wasn't holding any water. So I dug deep into the engine, behind the little turbo, right deep in there, found the leaking hose, fixed it up. It's not leaking now, so we're good to go. But another problem occurred at about the same time when we were leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back, and one of the lines fell overboard and got tangled in the prop, which meant I had to dive into this water that's not the clearest water I've ever dived in. But I got down there, and after a good 20 minutes of struggling with it, I could not get the rope untangled from the starboard propeller shaft. It's less than it was, but it's still there. There is a rope cutter built into it that might be able to deal with it as we go through a couple locks, but we'll see. When we get to Shillong, which is a couple of days away, I can either decide to go down again and take another look, or haul the boat out and just cut it off there. But it's a nice day today. We're going to be proceeding to the next lock, which is that way, with our friend Alan, who's got that old boat just down there. Then our friends Nigel and Yasmin are in this boat here. They'll be following us shortly afterwards as well. So it's all looking good today. You might have noticed sometimes that there's this pole at the front of the boat. And although it does make a useful camera mount, it's actually there as a height gauge for the boat, because if that point fits under the bridge, then the rest of the boat fits under the bridge. I don't know what it is about this town. So we unhooked the boat from the mooring, engines are running, went to put it into gear, and it wouldn't go, so we were floating out down the canal. And I had to call out for help from my neighbour, who pulled us back in again. But this thing seems jammed up for some reason. I don't know why, so I'm going to take it off and lube it. So we did lose our first friend. He's already gone through the lock, but our other friends are behind us, and we'll go into the dock together. The dock? And then to top it all off, as we were leaving that lock, Tam goes, "Is that one of our fenders?" One of the fenders had got caught in the lock mechanism and got yanked off. So we're retrieving it now. Front gate is opening, and we're ready to move off again. Today we got a lot of locks to do, I think 14 or 15, but they're all coming up very quickly in succession, so we don't get much relaxation between locks. It's lunchtime, so we're just going to wait for a little bit until that lock opens up in about 45 minutes. One time zone away, there's a fucking war going on, and I keep getting updates, but the world hasn't come closer to nuclear war for 50 years. And I mean, it's so beautiful here, but there's a country prepared to launch nuclear weapons, and I don't get it. I don't understand. It's a very strange contrast that I will never get, but I hope it doesn't happen, but it could. We have reached our destination for the evening, and it's called Saint-Julien. Nice little town, and we'll probably stay here for a day because tomorrow looks like rain, and it's no fun moving the boat when it's raining. Of course, just before I wanted to come and do some shopping, I opened a window on the boat because it wasn't raining, and now a thunderstorm just hit. God damn it. So I ran back to the boat, and the window was open, but it wasn't open as much as I thought it was open. So things are a bit wet, but the boat's not sinking. Man.